Hey guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video we will go through the Western Bulldogs AFL Fantasy Preview for 2023, and this embarks on the top 8 from last year, and we'll go down in order from 8th to 1st now. This team's very interesting as they're another one like Carlton that has a lot of fantasy friendly like premiums and top heavy guys. But there's also some guys around that mid-pricer range that with role changes can pick up a lot of value. So before we get into it, remember to like and subscribe and to share content to help the channel out. So now onto the team. I've done my customary highlighting key players that we'll go through. So first off, I'll start with on field here. Macrae and Bontempelli. I think this guy, even though I don't like him as much, I think it's his Brownlow year this year. I think he could easily, with the Dunkley out of the midfield, finally get that recognition that he deserves. He's a good player. Don't get me wrong, he's a good player. I just don't like him as much. But I think in terms of fantasy, he is the guy that will jump. I know that Macrae is there and stuff, but I think Bontempelli jumps, and he jumps big in terms of he has that. I know him and Cripper are the same sort of type of player that hit the scoreboard quite a lot, but I think he hits 30, low 30s, mid 30s goals, as well as averaging 30 plus disposals, 5 marks, 5 tackles a game type player, and that immediately gets him up towards, like, even in the bad times, like, he's one of those guys, especially here, where his low score is an 80. Lowest score 73 than an 80. If he can push those medium scores, those sort of consistent 80s, 90s, low hundreds up another 10, 15 points each game, that's where you're going to get that value. As well as I think just with Dunkley out, he takes more of a tackling role, and I think he increases quite a lot. So that's why he's in my team. Now on to Smith, Bazza Smith. One for the fangirls out there. 105 average. I think he probably stays around the same, honestly. Just because his time on ground was ridiculous at the start, and it held through pretty well, but it did start to lower down here, as I think it was somewhere here. Yeah, he had a 97% time on ground, etc. for that for those scores. So if he dips back down into the mid 80s, like he did, and he consistently holds a time on ground of probably dropping 6 or 7%, I expect his average to decrease as he doesn't get the ball as much. As they'll give it more to Macrae and Bont, and potentially Treloar and Libba more. Now onto Treloar. I think it was an article saying that Treloar was being held in the backline this year. I believe it was. He's staying in the backline. I could be completely wrong, but that should help him keep that 96 average also. I don't think he's one that will increase, but I think it's one of those guys that you'll get on late game and that he'll just hold prices. His lowest was 69, highest of 134. He's at least he doesn't drop an absolute stinker for that price range, so you're not going to have massive decreases, but you'll probably see a steady decrease in value with him. Whereas I think you can get players for a little bit cheaper that will actually increase in value. So that's why I haven't gone for him. You have now Liberatore. He's probably going to be one of the ones also. I think he's obviously a main inside mid. So, I think he played a little bit up forward, but not terribly much compared to Bazza Smith and Bont last year and Macrae. So I think he's one of the ones that you will see a massive increase in scoring. Probably 95 or 100. So he's close to getting into my team, but I think Bontempelli is the one guy that I want to go for in that midfield from the Dogs. Bailey Dale is another guy that I think could easily increase in scoring. Well, he He's one of those guys that I think is very, very inconsistent. He's consistently inconsistent as he goes 81, 104, 74, 126. Then he goes to 98, 117, 57. He like every game is at least a 30 difference if it's anything over his average score. He hasn't really had a good patch of, other than this patch here. Other than that, he doesn't really score terribly well. So I don't think he's a guy necessarily to pick up at that price. Caleb Daniel is a guy, I think he's one of the guys that has been said to be training with the mids. Could be wrong. But he's another guy that is another inconsistent scorer. They're basically the same, Dale and Daniel. So probably not the go. I think Ed Richards is a guy that you could look at. If we look at his stats, you have here, had a really slow start and then really picked it up at the end. So he is a guy you could look at he has that ability to jump up 20, 25 points here quite easily. So maybe he's the guy that we're all missing out on that could really jump. Because I think the problem I have is that I think Bose has more value, so I'd have to get in another. Because I don't want to get rid of Dacos, I don't want to get rid of Bose, and I can't find more value in getting in Ed Richards over the likes of Bose, Yo, and Dacos, and I don't want to get rid of Young, so I'm kind of set on these four guys, unless one of them gets injured for Ed Richards to pop in. Now, not many guys here, so we'll go on to English. I've actually heard that yesterday on Twitter it came out that he did not train yesterday in the match sim or something. So that's another worry. But for me, it's just a simple go down to Wits, save 100k, move that 100k around, etc. So he's the guy that if he isn't injured will be a set and forget type guy, but if he is injured then just go down to Wits, who's another guy that will be a solo ruck. Not too much value here. Now we go down to these guys that have position changes. Bruce, if you looked at his score last year, you'd probably be thinking, why am I talking about him? Because he has forward status, he has all the molds of a key forward, but he's going down as an intercept defender, And could he go back to his, he has 15% off the 63 that he had 2021. So could he go, we'd have to look at him, and he's going to be one of those guys that you look at for the first little bit of the season, and you think, and you're just basically deciding, is he going to be able to hold her if he comes out and averages 70? Is he going to be able to hold that 70 average or 75 average to be put in my team, or is he not? Or is he going to drop a couple of 40s and 50s, etc.? You really have to look at his role, because if he has a more distributing role, then he is on. But if he doesn't, he's just not there. There's not much. Cody Waitman's been training with or done a little bit of inside work, so maybe he goes up, but I doubt it. Sam Darcy's a guy, he has a massive discount, and if he can hold this 65, 70 average, he could be of good value, but I just don't think he will. Then you got Toby Mclean down here, and he's supposedly going into the midfield, or at least onto the wing, I would think. So he didn't play last year, so he has a massive discount on a 2021 64, which that's why he's priced at 400k, which is around 45, 46. So all we need out of him is 65 for him to be of decent value as a mid-pricer, but I'm expecting him to potentially go, especially with the way that the Dogs midfield works, him could go as high as 80 and be a huge, almost mid-price cash cow. Then you have, going down here, Luke Cleary is another guy, averages 63, has a massive discount. If he gets into the team, he'll do really well. I think he ended the season. I think he played the last couple of games from memory. Nope, he didn't. He played these couple games, then didn't play. So he's got to get his way back into the side before we even consider. But yeah, he's one to look at. I wouldn't say necessarily pick him off the back because he might not play round one, but he's a guy to look at if he does get a game. And then not really much more to go off for the Western Bulldogs. So that's my review of the Western Bulldogs and their fantasy preview for 2023. Remember to like and subscribe if you want to see the other AFL fantasy previews for my other teams below them in the ladder. For the non-finals teams, click up here. And if you want to see the playlist for all my AFL fantasy content, then there'll be another playlist. Thank you and goodbye, everyone.